Summer is 12 weeks away, which means we've got 84 days to get in the shape of our lives. And in this video, I'm going over everything I'm using to get ready. In the past, I would have had to go in deep calorie deficit, lose a lot of muscle in the process just to get some abs. This year, we've got an array of medical weapons at our disposal with peptides, supplementation, and even lifestyle hacks. I'm learning something new every day. In my opinion, we are past the days of having to do bulks and cuts every single year, getting really fat in the winter and then getting really skinny in the summer, and then just having a few good weeks in between. I don't want to do it anymore, and I don't have to because now we've got so many options in the medical field, and we're blessed to live in this time where we can go do things that build fat and lose muscle at the same time, increase our nutrition partitioning to use our carbohydrates to gain muscle, but also expend them for energy and not go to our fat stores. The possibilities are endless. I love the future. I don't know why anybody wants to go back in time. Not for me. In this video, I'm going to be covering every key peptide that I'm going to be using going into the summer, as well as supplementation and lifestyle habits to make sure I the best looking guy on the beach. And without any further ado, let's get into the video. By the end of this video, you are going to have the summertime playbook to look jacked, shredded, tan, and handsome, all while being healthy while you do it. But it is important to note before we get started on this, I am not a doctor. Nothing I say in this video should be misconstrued with medical advice. And if you're going to try to follow through with anything I go over in this video, please make sure you are only doing so under direct medical supervision. And without any further ado, let's get into the video. I'll tell you what, I am in desperate need of the stack I'm about to tell you guys because I just finished up my experiment using FOXO4 DRI, which is a peptide that goes through the body to clear out your dead zombie cells. I'm doing it for health reasons as well as I just wanted to see what happens. That's kind of my job. But in that process, to make sure the peptide was working, I had to cut my protein all the way down to 180 grams. I usually do 280 grams a day. And with that, I had to cut my carbs down to 50 grams a day because the insulin spike would mess with the pathway of the peptide. Needless to be said, I am not looking and feeling my most confident right now, so I am ready to spring forward and attack this summertime physique. The first one I'm starting right now, MOTS-c. This one is becoming really popular. You guys know I'm on a bit of a cellular kick right now, and I am a firm believer that the physical body is a direct representation of our internal cellular health. MOTS-c, just like most things, usually decays as we age, but there's other factors that can drop your mitochondrial efficiency along the way as well, whether that be bad diet. Specifically, seed oils have been known to cause old, decayed, decrepit cells. Alcohol, drug use, the usual culprits. So when we input something like MOTS-c, it tells our mitochondria not only to work harder, but it also multiplies whatever mitochondria we have available. Which is why I went ahead and did the SS31 and the FOXO4 ahead of time to make sure I was only multiplying the purest and strongest. What a lot of people, myself included, have found this peptide really effective for is nutrition partitioning. I talked about this briefly in several other videos. This is the way that we use carbohydrates. It's also really good for balancing our blood sugar. The two go hand in hand. Nutrition partitioning is probably my favorite effect we get from peptides. So if I'm someone who works out a lot, I have to eat a lot of carbs to make sure that my muscles have fuel to grow, right? That's how your insulin spikes. The only way that we can create new nerves in our muscles is with insulin, right? So if I've got my MOTS-c, I want to make sure all of the carbohydrates I'm using are going directly toward energy output and muscle growth and not going to fat stores, because everybody's body is wired differently. Some people's body says, let me take the carbs I'm getting right now, use them right this second, right? Other people's body operates scared. This is why they get fat, is their body says, I'm going to hold on to these and save them for when I might need them. I want to use my carbs now. I want them to work fast and I want them to work strong. A lot of people get hyperfixated on the workouts they're doing and their calorie count, which those two things are by far the most important aspect of exercise. But sometimes that can be like trying to build a fire inside an igloo. The MOTS-c's job is to change the environment, maybe somewhere in the wilderness where it's a little easier to spark the flame. Then we get the fire going and the fat starts burning. All right, now that the fire is burning, we are going to pour kerosene on top of it. My favorite peptide of all time. You guys know what's coming. Tesa-Ipa blend. I cannot wait to get back on this thing. Tesa-Ipa blend composed of two growth hormone releasing pathways, your Tesamorelin and your Ipamorelin, both of which are going to increase growth hormone and your ghrelin. Growth hormone, if you're new to this page, is like your body's internal fountain of youth. It is responsible for every mechanism, whether that be your skin health, your hair, the way that you're able to put on muscle, the way that you're able to burn fat, how well you sleep. All of it is dependent on your growth hormone. Just like everything else, it peaks when we're in our adolescence and in our early 20s, and as we get older, it starts to decay. Now, some people's pituitary glands don't develop at the same rate, so they never produce the amount of growth hormone that they're supposed to. So they don't end up seeing a lot of the physical benefits that other people do, and they wonder, why can that guy lose fat so much better than me? Why can he put on muscle so much better than me? Well, it's usually relating to one of two hormones. It's either your growth hormone or your testosterone, which is going going to bring me right into my next point, which is a lot of you guys are overlooking your hormones. And I think it's because a lot of people worry they're crossing the line into steroids once they start messing with their testosterone. And it's not an unfair assumption. There are a lot of steroids that are directly relating to your hormones, and people abuse TRT all the time to treat it like a steroid. But when regulated correctly, your hormones are the most important mechanism of your body. They decide who and what you are more than anything else in our bodies. And if you're living under a rock and you haven't seen the statistics, the average man in his 20s today has lower testosterone than the average man in his 60s today. The average testosterone level for men in their 20s is somewhere between 350 and 400. If you had told that to somebody 30, 40 years ago, they would send you directly into a hospital and say, this person has chronically low testosterone. That is the average we see today, especially in younger men. Now, this issue does not go away for older guys as well. The main reason this happens is that everything we have in society today is designed to block our endocrine system. Our endocrine system is our hormonal makeup. The main culprit of this is plastics. Plastics emits what is called a xenoestrogen. You could guess what's in it based on the name. Estrogen coming from every plastic container. Think about how many things you use every day that have plastic. Between your water bottles, what does your food come packed in? What are half of your clothes made up of? I bet a lot of you guys didn't even realize half of your clothes are made of plastic. Between the tips, the pockets, the zippers, everything we use today comes in plastic. That, in conjunction with harmful chemicals being sprayed on all of our produce that most people will never even know exists, all in the name of preserving shelf life, making sure the products can last on the shelf longer. Think about how backwards that is. We spray stuff on the food to make sure bugs don't eat it, and then we eat it ourselves. How dangerous does a chemical have to be for a bug's internal survival instincts to say, I'm staying away from that? Now think about the logic of, let's put that on everything we eat and eat it all the time. No wonder we are the sickest, fattest, most unhealthy country on the planet, bar none. And if you think otherwise, it is time to wake up, because this is a problem that is plaguing our entire country every single day. Back to the hormones. If you want to go about increasing your testosterone level, but you're not prepared to do something like TRT, we're seeing incredible benefits from things like Enclomiphene, whose safety profile seems to be pretty effective. Very, very small percentage of people noticing things like some visionary problems, but overall, from my own experience, as well as what I've seen from others, seems to be a generally safe compound. Enclomiphene acts on the pituitary gland, the same place that your Tesamorelin and Ipamorelin are going to go. But instead of producing growth hormone, it stimulates your pituitary to send a signal down to your you-know-what to say, hey, we need to create more sperm. We need to create more sperm so that we can have more testosterone. Most people use Enclomiphene as a PCT, a post-cycle therapy, when coming off of testosterone. A lot of people have the question, well, how am I going to do testosterone? I want to have kids, when I'm in my 30s. I don't want to start it when I'm 25. Now, I'm no advocate for anybody to start anything unless they are ready for it and their levels represent that they are in medical necessity of it. And this is why I say always make sure you're going to a doctor who can educate you on this kind of stuff. But when people come off of testosterone, they usually supplement with Enclomiphene to retrain their body to produce their own testosterone again. Because as a lot of you guys know, once you start testosterone replacement therapy, you usually shut off your natural production, and a lot of people notice things like testicular atrophies. Balls shrivel up to the size of raisins. Happened to me once, not a fan of it, have been on HCG and Enclo ever since. I swapped them both out throughout the year. Now people are noticing I can just do the Enclomiphene, not lose my fertility, and still get pretty good results in terms of my testosterone. Right now in my company, we're seeing people on average 2, some people even 3xing their baseline hormone levels. Now, for people that come in at 150 testosterone because they are just so clinically suppressed, a 3x isn't much, right? That's somebody who's probably a TRT candidate. But for the guys that are coming in at 300, and then we can get you upwards of 700 to 900, basically naturally, it seems like a much more viable option if you ask me. Now, why does this matter for your summer body? Guys, this is the #1 thing that is going to be a needle mover in terms of your ability to put on muscle, your ability to lose fat, and your ability to look, feel, and perform like a man the way you are supposed to. I think a lot of people overlook the fact of the mentality you get with optimized testosterone. A lot of people just think, oh, I'm going to get juiced up, I'm going to get jacked. Sure, but what's more important is you now have the energy and the focus to go into the gym every day and not miss meals and not miss workouts because you just have that drive that you want to go succeed. For those of you that haven't gotten your blood work done yet, the biggest indicator of testosterone is you just don't want to succeed, or you don't want to pursue anything with high intent. So if you find yourself giving up halfway through in a lot of your projects, tasks, or commitments that you make to yourself, probably because of your testosterone. A lot of people have this idea that it's this mental wherewithal, or that it's your will factor. That will factor most times is your hormone. Your emotional makeup is almost all hormones. So you can see how adamant I am about this. I don't care whether you guys do this stuff or not, but I do think everybody should get tested and understand where their levels are at. If you don't need it, don't touch it, right? If you're someone who's in that 700 to 900 range naturally, don't touch it, right? You're doing great. But for those of you that do, this is the biggest needle mover you can do. All right, now that we're jacked and shredded, we are going to want to get our tan on. I am so excited to get back on MT2, Melanotan 2. You guys can see I need it right now. This is the palest I have been in a long time, and I'm going to start it up again. Melanotan 2, you can guess what it does. It's in the name. It's designed to increase your melanin production to tell your skin cells to tan a little bit more easily. For those of you that like the science, it is directly affecting your melanocortin receptors, your MC3R and your MC4R. Now, for those of you that don't care about the science, you are going to get tan and ripped. Not only does it help you get tan faster, which is the coolest thing I've ever seen, but it also acts on your leptin, which is going to help you increase the rate at which you burn fat. It's also going to suppress your appetite mildly. It's not going to be anything like any of the GLPs, but you do notice a mild appetite suppression. So this is why people start calling this the Barbie drug, because you get tan, skinny, and horny. The other pathway this peptide acts on is the same one as PT141. Now, what a lot of people worry about for this compound is melanoma. The compound was actually designed for people with melanoma to protect themselves from the sun. So it gives you the ability to defend yourself from the UVs without having to use things like sunscreen. If you know me, you know I am sunscreen's biggest hater on the planet. Now, there are some arguments to be made about some of the ones that are purely zinc oxide. I have no problem with that. But 95% of the products out there in the sunscreen market contain harmful chemicals that have been linked to several forms of cancer, as well as overall endocrine disruptors, just like everything else. One drawback I will say on Melanotan 2 is some people will notice their moles and freckles getting a little bit darker, which can be concerning for people who have a cancer background. I myself do get screened routinely because I do a lot of different stuff between the growth hormone, between the melanotan, the BPCs, and everything that could maybe possibly cause cancer. So I do get checked quite frequently, and I have not seemed to have any issues yet. That doesn't mean you should take that as fact that you're not going to have any problems. But if someone like me can go off and do as much as I do, most people, in my opinion, will be. Now, for those of you that are peptide fanatics, you're probably asking yourself, how has he not brought up Retatrutide yet? How have you not talked about the best weight loss compound to ever hit the marketplace in the history of mankind? And the answer is, I overdid it recently, and so I would like to make sure I'm focusing more on the MOTS-cs, on the Tesa-Ipas, to lose my fat, because those are going to help me still preserve and gain muscle at the same time. The Reta, although it does show to be pretty good about muscle wasting, there is definitely still everybody I talk to that does have substantial muscle mass tells me that they notice a decline in their strength and their overall muscular structure. Huberman has been talking about this a lot as well, that it's not 100% muscle saving, although it does claim to be. And we're noticing this even in the minute doses that we're taking ourselves, when Eli Lilly's recommended dosing is somewhat of 3-4 times what most people are taking to get the incredible results that they're already getting. So I'm really interested to see how it's going to work when they do bring this drug to market. Now, we have a little bit of time before that, and as soon as that does happen, the whole world's going to flip on its head. I mean, we're talking about $1 trillion drug. It is going to be what they push to solve American obesity. It's going to be what they push to solve diabetes. And it's also been shown to eliminate things like Alzheimer's in the brain because of its ability to regulate your blood sugar levels. That, to me, is pretty crazy. So we'll see what happens when that comes out. But that's my peptide regimen. And now it's really important whenever you're doing a peptide regimen, a lot of people skip out the supplementation. Number one thing I've been loving for the last couple months, and I couldn't do it because it was the winter time and it was freezing cold, was my digestion walks. Every single meal, 10 minutes after, go walk around outside, inside, wherever, do it for 15 to 20 minutes. The difference in your glucose regulation drops by about 30%. The improved digestion of your food is immeasurable. The difference that it makes just in terms of your overall aesthetic physique, especially in the lower stomach, is where I notice it the most. Every time I eat and then I sit on the couch, go to bed, whatever, and I do that for a couple weeks at a time and I don't actively walk it off afterwards, I start noticing this little lump right here. It's partly fat, but it's also just an inflamed gut because I'm not digesting my food properly. When you go walk around, you get this incredible benefit. Now, a lot of people overlook this one, and they hear people talk about it and they kind of just overlook it as though it's like, oh, it would be cool to have. If you're not using creatine every single day, you are missing the mark. You are completely doing this backwards. If you're someone who's using peptides, but you're not even using creatine, you need to flip this around. During a shredding phase where you're trying to remove body fat but keep muscle, creatine is one of the most effective compounds on the planet when it comes to preserving muscle mass in a calorie deficit, as well as it's one of the best supplements on the planet when it comes to preserving energy when you're in a calorie deficit. A lot of people overlook these things. They think calorie deficit is just about starving yourself. You still have to go hard in the gym if you want to grow some muscle. Creatine is really effective at recycling your energy stores, your ATP production. Creatine uses your ATP that you've got in your body and makes sure it's getting used to its fullest potential to squeeze every drop of energy out of all of your ATP. Something else that gets overlooked a lot, especially in the younger community, the older guys start looking at this because they want to avoid prostate cancer, is fiber. Start being somewhat conscious of your fiber. Watch the difference it makes when you are shitting properly. And there's no better way to say it than that. When you're having regular bowel movements, you are in way better shape than when things get clogged and backed up. So many people don't realize they have digestive issues. It's one of the biggest issues that I see when people are talking about, I don't know why I can't lose weight. When it comes to my stomach, I lose it everywhere else, my face, my chest, my arms, but it just sits on my stomach. A lot of times that's inflammation more than it is just lingering body fat. So I do recommend everybody do something about their gut, whether this be probiotics and prebiotics are a great place to start. Or if you're having more severe issues, you can jump to things like BPC 157, especially oral BPC. There are not nearly any peptides that are effective orally. Oral BPC 157 is shown to have some incredible repairing effects when it comes to gut health. Okay, now I've said a lot in this video that there are things that people overlook. What I'm about to say is the single most overlooked part of any diet or muscle building regimen that anybody tries, and that is your sleep. And I know this is going to sound cliche, make sure you get your 8 hours, but people don't realize how big an impact not getting that 7 to 8 hours of sleep on a nightly basis is versus what your body's functionality looks like when you don't. Number one area you're going to see this is your ability to put on muscle mass. We are talking about a 60% difference if you get 8 hours of sleep versus less than 5 hours of sleep. 60% difference in your ability to put on skeletal muscle mass. As we know, we need our IGF in order to create new muscle. Almost all of your IGF is produced when you are in REM sleep. If you're not getting into that REM sleep and staying in it, you're not even giving your body the ability to produce new muscle growth. You also sabotage your ability to lose any sort of fat because your ghrelin, the hormone responsible for your hunger, increases 30% if you are not sleeping sufficiently. So not only are you going to find it harder to put on muscle, and you have to be awake longer with the thought of food, but during that time of the thought of food is going to be stronger because you didn't sleep enough. It is not just a double-edged sword, it is a 5-pronged sword, and they're all going right up your rear end. Get to sleep for 8 hours. This will be one of the biggest differences you notice in not just the way you're able to perform physically, but your general outlook on life will drastically change if you can find a way to just stay asleep. For those of you that struggle with stuff like this, I'm a huge proponent of things like Apigenin. It's an oral supplement. It's really cheap, and it has helped me a ton. Now, if you need to break out the big guns, there are things like Delta Sleep-Inducing Peptide and Epitalon, which I've done full videos on, and I'll link those down here in the description. So if you want to learn more about stuff like this, and you want to keep finding ways to optimize the human body, not just with supplementation and peptides, but also the lifestyle habits it takes to bring it all into one cohesive unit, that's everything I go over on this page. I make new videos twice a week where I cover everything I'm doing to optimize the human body. If you want to learn more, hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications, and I will see you guys in the next one.